Your wife just turned 43, and suddenly everything changes. She's at the gym at 6 a.m. when all the college guys are there. She's liking Instagram photos of shirtless men half her age. She mentions how her friend's son grew up handsome. She rewatches Bridgerton for the 6th time, making comments about the young actors. Then one day, she tells you she's not happy, needs space, wants to find herself. 3 months later, she's posting selfies with someone who looks like he should be asking her for homework help, not taking her to dinner. Let me tell you what's actually happening here, because it's not what she's telling herself, and it's definitely not what she's telling you. Welcome to DepthRealm, where we tear down the comfortable lies and expose the uncomfortable truths about human behavior. If you're ready to understand what's really driving the choices that destroy marriages and families, hit that subscribe button right now. Because today, we're diving into a phenomenon that's quietly devastating families across the country, and the empowerment narrative surrounding it is one of the biggest lies modern culture is selling. Here's the reality check that'll sting. When a woman over 40 suddenly develops a taste for younger men, it's rarely about genuine desire. It's about desperation. It's about looking in the mirror every morning and seeing mortality staring back. It's about realizing the marriage she thought would complete her has become a daily reminder of everything she didn't become, everything she'll never be. But instead of dealing with these feelings honestly, she constructs an elaborate fantasy where she's not aging out of relevance. She's finally free to explore her authentic self. The delusion is breathtaking. The illusion of empowerment is everywhere you look. Social media celebrates these women as cougars and queens, bold women who know what they want and take it. Magazine articles praise them for breaking societal norms. Self-help gurus tell them age is just a number. But talk to these women privately after a few drinks, after the Instagram filters come off, and you'll hear a completely different story. Exhaustion, humiliation, confusion. The 26-year-old who seemed so interested? He ghosted after 2 weeks. The passionate affair that made her feel alive again? He was texting 4 other women the entire time. The deep connection she thought they had? He can't even remember her middle name. I counsel women like this regularly in my practice. They come into my office talking about liberation and self-discovery, eyes bright with manufactured confidence. But within 20 minutes, they're crying about feeling invisible, worthless, used like an ATM machine with benefits. One client, 45 years old, successful executive, left her husband of 18 years for a 28-year-old personal trainer. 6 months later, she's sitting in my office, financially devastated because she funded his startup ideas that went nowhere, emotionally destroyed because he left her for someone his own age, and socially humiliated because literally everyone warned her this would happen. But she had to learn the hard way. The emotional bankruptcy driving this behavior is profound. After 20 years of marriage, after years of feeling unseen, unappreciated, taken for granted, these women are running on fumes. They're not actually attracted to younger men as people. They're attracted to the idea of being desired again, being pursued, being wanted. They're chasing a feeling, not a person. The younger man isn't a partner. He's a painkiller for midlife irrelevance. He's a temporary anesthetic for the terror of aging. And like all painkillers, the effect wears off, and the underlying condition gets worse. The romantic asymmetry in these relationships is absolutely brutal to witness. She thinks they have a deep soul connection because he listens to her talk about her problems. He's thinking about how his friends will react when they see the age gap. She's planning weekend getaways and talking about meeting each other's families. He's making sure she doesn't post photos where his buddies might see them. She's falling in love. He's getting his rent paid and enjoying the experience. The divergent intentions couldn't be more obvious to everyone except her. Let me break down what each person actually wants here. She wants validation that she's still desirable, still worthy of male pursuit, still capable of inspiring passion in a man. She wants proof that her youth isn't completely gone, that she's not invisible, that she still matters in the sexual marketplace. He wants the experience, the story to tell his friends, maybe some financial benefits, definitely the sex with someone who knows what they're doing. Neither person is getting what they truly need, but both are pretending they're winning. It's a mutual delusion that always ends the same way. I watched this exact pattern play out with a neighbor. Woman in her mid-40s, decent looking, started dating her son's friend. The guy was maybe 26. She was absolutely glowing, posting on Facebook about how age is just a number, how she's finally being appreciated for who she really is. 3 months in, she's paying for his car insurance. 6 months in, she's covering his rent because he's between jobs. 8 months in, he leaves her for a 24-year-old, and she's completely destroyed, crying in her driveway at 2 a.m., begging him to come back. The humiliation was visible to the entire neighborhood. The transactional dynamics flip entirely in these relationships, and women are utterly unprepared for it. Suddenly, they're in the traditional male role. They're paying for everything, doing all the pursuing, trying desperately to keep someone interested who clearly has better options. They become the wallet, the provider, the one anxiously checking their phone for replies. They experience what men have dealt with forever in the dating market, and they absolutely hate it. But they can't admit they hate it because that would mean admitting the whole thing is a mistake. One of my clients spent over $35,000 in 7 months on a younger boyfriend. Trips to Miami, designer clothes for him, covering his temporary unemployment that somehow never ended. She called it supporting his dreams and investing in their future. He called it Tuesday. When she finally worked up the courage to ask about their long-term plans, about where this relationship was heading, he looked genuinely confused and said he wasn't ready for anything serious. With her money in his account and her dignity in absolute shreds, she learned what men have always known: you cannot buy genuine desire. You can rent attention, but you can't purchase authentic attraction. The reality behind Cougar culture is pathetic, not powerful. For every success story the media amplifies, there are literally hundreds of women sitting alone at wine bars, desperately swiping through dating apps, continuously lowering their age requirements, wondering why men their own age aren't interested, while simultaneously discovering that men half their age only want one thing. The empowerment narrative is brilliant marketing, but it's not reality. These women go to Cougar nights at clubs, surrounded by other desperate women competing viciously for the attention of maybe 5 young guys who are there exclusively for easy sex or free drinks. They dress younger, talk younger, act younger, and somehow end up looking older than ever. The desperation radiates off them like heat, and everyone can see it except them. The biological and social double standard is harsh, brutal even, but it's absolutely real. A 45-year-old man with money and status can date 25-year-olds indefinitely if he wants. Nobody blinks. A 45-year-old woman, regardless of her professional achievements or how well she's aged, is fighting basic biology. Her fertility window has slammed shut. Her physical prime is in the rearview mirror. The younger men know they're doing her a favor by giving her attention, not the other way around. This isn't fair, I'll admit that freely. But fair or unfair, it's reality. Society celebrates men like George Clooney marrying women decades younger, but openly mocks Madonna for dating younger men. Why? Because one follows biological imperatives and evolutionary patterns, the other fights against them. Men's value in the mating market can increase with age through accumulated resources and status. Women's biological value, harsh but scientifically true, peaks early and declines steadily. Pretending otherwise doesn't change the fundamental reality of human mating patterns. The entitlement paradox is absolutely stunning to observe. These women, despite needing younger men for validation, still expect traditional courtship. They want the younger man to pursue them properly, plan romantic dates, make consistent effort, show real commitment. They cannot grasp that they're not the prize anymore in this dynamic. They're the option. A 25-year-old with abs and prospects isn't going to court a 45-year-old like she's prime marriage material. He's not bringing flowers to her door and asking permission to take her out. A client complained bitterly that her younger boyfriend never took her on actual dates. He'd come over, they'd have sex, maybe watch something on Netflix, then he'd leave. She genuinely couldn't understand why he wouldn't put in effort or make her feel special. I had to explain the uncomfortable truth. You're not his girlfriend in his mind. You're his Tuesday night entertainment. Harsh. Absolutely. True. Also absolutely. The decline in actual romantic compatibility becomes glaringly obvious within months. She wants to discuss mortgage refinancing strategies and retirement planning. He wants to talk about the new PlayStation release. She's stressed about her teenager's college applications and her aging parents' health. He's worried about his Tinder matches and weekend plans. She needs someone who understands perimenopause symptoms and hot flashes. He doesn't even know what perimenopause is. The lifestyle mismatch alone destroys most of these relationships before they hit the 6-month mark. She's in bed by 10 p.m. because she has to work in the morning. He's going out at 11 p.m. because the night is young. She wants quiet dinners and meaningful conversation. He wants clubs, parties, social events with his peers. She has crushing responsibilities, kids, demanding career, aging parents who need care. He has virtually none of that weight on his shoulders. They exist in completely different life stages that occasional exciting sex simply cannot bridge long-term. The financial burden and complete role reversal absolutely break these women psychologically. They're suddenly paying for everything, and they deeply resent it even though they can't admit it. They wanted equality when men were paying for everything. Now that they're the ones paying, they suddenly understand why men complained about gold diggers. The endless dinner bills, the weekend trips, the help with his rent and expenses. It adds up frighteningly fast when you're the only one contributing financially. I personally know a woman who paid off her younger boyfriend's entire student loan debt, over $42,000, thinking they were building a future together. 2 months after she made the final payment, he ended the relationship. When she asked why, completely devastated, he said he never saw this as serious, that he thought they were just having fun. $42,000 she'll never see again, for a relationship that existed only in her desperate imagination. The aftermath is always, without exception, exactly the same. The younger man eventually leaves for someone his own age, someone in his life stage. The ex-husband she discarded has moved on with someone who actually values stability and partnership. The woman is left with neither relationship, plus the social embarrassment of everyone watching her midlife crisis implode in real time. The empowerment story she told herself becomes a cautionary tale that other women whisper about at parties. The truth is devastatingly simple. Women over 40 dating significantly younger men aren't empowered, they're terrified. Terrified of aging, terrified of irrelevance, terrified of facing who they've become and what they didn't accomplish. The younger man isn't a solution to anything real. He's a temporary distraction from problems that only grow worse with continued avoidance. This is DepthRealm, where we explore the brutal psychological realities that polite society refuses to discuss. If this analysis made you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort means you're confronting truth instead of swallowing comfortable lies. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that values harsh reality over pleasant delusion. Now here's what I want from you. Drop your experiences in the comments. Men who've watched their wives go through this transformation, what triggered it? How did it manifest? How did it end? Women who've lived through this and came out the other side, what finally made you wake up? Let's have a brutally honest conversation about what's really happening in midlife marriages, because the empowerment narrative is actively destroying real relationships for temporary fantasies that always end in devastation.